Good Thursday morning to you. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. It is day 2 of the government shutdown and it will not reopen today. And the Senate is not in session, meaning no opportunity for votes that could reopen the government. And now as Americans prepare to deal with the consequences, NBC News is learning the Office of Management and Budget says the administration will begin reduction in force in a matter of days. NBC's Bianca Fascini has details from Washington.
It's completely unclear if any progress has been made at all between Democrats and Republicans. But we do know that layoffs are imminent, according to the White House, which could put hundreds of thousands of federal workers out of a job.
Every other to make this bill shutdown.
24 hours later, and both sides are still blaming each other.
Donald Trump and Republicans shut the federal government down.
Democrats followed through on their threat to shut down the United States government.
While lawmakers will be in Washington Thursday, Capitol Hill was already planned to be fairly quiet in observance of Yom Kippur, according to Senate Majority Leader John Thune. The Senate holds their next vote Friday afternoon. As Americans wait for the stalemate to resolve, many federal workers are bracing for layoffs.
We're not getting paid for the work we're performing. We're nervous about making ends meet. And the American people are also nervous about what a government shutdown means to their earned benefits.
We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Now, the Democrats say these layoffs will be targeted toward government programs the GOP doesn't like.
Targeting the clean energy economy. Republicans have been doing that since January 20th and assaulted the clean energy economy and the creation of good-paying American jobs in their one big, ugly bill.
But it's a claim that the administration denies. At the heart of the issue is health care. The Democrats want to reverse Medicaid cuts and President Trump's tax breaks and spending reductions from the summer. They also want to extend tax credits that make health insurance premiums more affordable for the millions of people who purchase through the Affordable Care Act. For now, it seems like neither side is willing to budge. And according to the Congressional Budget Office, an estimated 750,000 federal employees could be furloughed each day of a shutdown. The shutdown also means that the Labor Department will be unable to release its monthly jobs report tomorrow, though it is highly anticipated since the labor market has shown some signs of softening. Back to you.
Meanwhile, TSA workers and air traffic controllers are two groups of essential workers being impacted by the government shutdown. They won't be paid until the shutdown is over. Once that happens, they'll get back pay. The American Federation of Government Employees represents roughly 40,000 TSA workers nationally, including 800 here in Minnesota. It says a long shutdown could cause real economic problems on employees living paycheck to paycheck.
So we've had to start advising our folks to make sure that they're saving plenty of money that they could be able to make their mortgage and continue to provide food for their families while there may be a shutdown.
During the 2019 shutdown, some TSA workers started calling out, leading to long lines at airports. Healthcare, we know, is one of the biggest sticking points in the shutdown. And this morning, we also know insurance will be significantly more expensive next year for nearly 1 million Minnesotans. MNsure rates are set to increase by an average of 22% for the 187,000 Minnesotans shopping on the individual market. Around 200,000 others shopping for small group insurance will see rates go up by 14%. Medicaid Advantage, which is the choice for about 400,000 Minnesota seniors, is also facing a nearly 18% rate increase.
So helping people find a plan that they can afford, that their provider participates in, is probably going to be more challenging this year than it has in past years.
In addition to the rate increases, nearly 100,000 middle-class Minnesotans could also see tax credits expire next year. That would send their premiums soaring by hundreds of dollars every month. Developing right now, a state representative is calling on the White Bear Lake superintendent to resign this morning after a 22-year-old man enrolled as a 17-year-old student. Audrey Russo is joining us in the newsroom now with new details.
Lawmakers tell us they plan to reevaluate enrollment protocols at the Capitol. State Representative Eliot Engin represents White Bear Lake, but he also has a brother in the same grade in the same school as the 22-year-old who allegedly attended the high school posing as a teen. Engin provided us with a roster of this year's football team listing KJ Perry as a 12th grader who played as a cornerback. The school district and police have not disclosed the 22-year-old's name, but students identified him as KJ. Now, the district says the 22-year-old used fake documents to enroll. And according to the district's website, you need 3 main documents: verification of a person's birth date, like a birth certificate, proof of address, and immunization records. Now, police say they're pursuing possible criminal violations, including forgery and unlawful interactions with minors. Meantime, parents say they want answers from administrators.
I think it would be nice to hear from the superintendent. The parents and the children need some form of explanation. You know, it makes you question, do you keep your children there? Is it safe?
Now, we've reached out to the superintendent multiple times for an interview, but a school spokesperson says they can't share any more information at this time. Back to you.
This morning, millions of dollars in federal funding for Minnesota public schools are at risk. It comes after a new report from the Trump administration claiming the state violated Title IX by allowing transgender athletes to participate in girls' sports. The report mentioned the Champlin Park High School girls softball team winning a state championship with the help from a skilled transgender pitcher. The state now has 9 days to comply with Title IX, or they risk losing those federal education funds. A constitutional law professor telling us the Trump warning will likely lead to a lawsuit.
I think ultimately we're going to see a case like this go up to the U.S. Supreme Court because the Trump administration is suing other states that have also said that they're not going to change their policy.
Just this April, Minnesota's Attorney General sued the Trump administration, claiming the president's executive orders targeting transgender people were unconstitutional. A decision has not been made yet on that lawsuit. Right now, we are tracking a developing investigation out of Barron, Wisconsin this morning after 3 people were found shot at a home there. Barron is about an hour and a half northeast of Minneapolis near Rice Lake. Police say they found a man dead and a woman critically injured. They say they also found the person they believe to be the suspect who had shot themselves. The woman and suspect were both brought to the hospital. Officials haven't said how they are doing at this hour. They're also warning parents about a video of the shooting on Snapchat and are actively working to get that removed. Developing right now, 2 people are dead and at least 3 others are hurt after an attack at a UK synagogue. Here are some brand new pictures from near that scene. Police saying a suspect rammed his car toward a group of people in a suburb just north of Manchester in northern England. Another man was also stabbed. The suspect is believed to be dead, though Manchester police have not yet confirmed that. Police say he was shot by armed officers. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying more police will be sent to synagogues countrywide, according to PA Media news agency. This incident occurred on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And breaking news from overnight in New York, a flight attendant is in the hospital after 2 Delta planes operated by Endeavor Air collided at LaGuardia Airport just hours ago, stranding dozens of passengers. Officials say the wing of a plane heading to Virginia hit the cockpit window of another plane arriving from North Carolina. All this happening just before 9 p.m. our time on the taxiway. The passengers were put in hotel rooms and offered to rebook their flights for today. This morning, the world is remembering Jane Goodall, a trailblazer who went into the wild to study chimpanzees and taught the world about animals, nature, and humankind. She passed away at 91 yesterday while on a speaking tour in California. NBC's Ann Thompson shares her life and career.
It was perhaps a basic instinct that chimpanzees recognized they had a friend in Jane Goodall, the young British woman with little scientific training who went to Tanzania in 1960 and changed the way we look at these great apes by doing everything established scientists thought was wrong.
When I got to Cambridge finally, they were totally horrified. I'd named the chimps instead of numbering them. I talked about them having personalities. I talked about them having minds and being able to have rational thoughts and emotions, happiness, sadness, fear. And all of these things were supposed to be attributes only of humans.
She discovered the chimps could make tools, described wars between groups of chimps, and captivated the world.
Fortunately, when I was a child, I had a great teacher who taught me that in this respect, these erudite scientists were completely wrong, and that was my dog, Rusty.
The child that fell in love with Tarzan of the Apes, as an adult, conducted her research by immersing herself in the chimp's habitat for endless hours of observation, building trust with her subjects.
Being out in the wild, you know, back when I dreamed of it, there was nobody doing anything like that.
Goodall devoted her life to the protection of the chimps and the earth, fighting against the destruction of forests and, more recently, climate change that threaten this endangered species.
If all around the world the importance of protecting and restoring forests was understood, that would go a long way towards mitigating the effects of climate change.
Goodall married twice and had one son, but her lasting legacy is the relationship forged in the wild.
I want to be remembered for having helped people to understand the true nature of animals, that they do matter as individuals, that they do have a part to play in the scheme of things, and they're not just objects, they're beings, and they're part of it.
Teaching us about chimpanzees and ourselves. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
Certainly an incredible life. Well, during her life, Goodall took several trips to Minnesota. This video is taken from a 2002 story when she appeared at the Minnesota Science Museum. Reporter Brad Woodard, also an animal advocate, spent several hours with Goodall that day for a KARE 11 News Extra, and the two became close friends. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.